Hello guys, welcome back. I am David, the Webflow guy, and in this video, we're going to try to build a simple infinite text movement. Now you can use this for both your logos or your images, whatever elements you choose to use. Let's jump right into it. So this is Webflow. Inside of Webflow, we have a div block wrapper. We have a div block wrapper, which obviously is set to 100 VH, display flex, horizontal, and justify from the start. So the next thing you want to do is bring in a div block, and you want to call this div block maybe loop container. All right, call it a loop container. Inside the loop container, you just set it to display flex box, horizontal, and justify also to the start. Now you want to bring in another div block inside of it. So inside the loop container, we have a div block 2, which we're going to call loop content. All right, so we'll call it loop contents. I already have all these classes named, so you'll just see it popping up. We have a loop content, and this loop content, I give it a flex box, horizontal, and justify to the start. Now inside our loop content is where we're going to have all the text or all the heading. So let's do that. So let's say heading, bring in your heading, and we're going to call this heading loop heading. All right, loop heading. Okay, so we have our loop heading. Let's style this our heading a bit. Let's maybe change the color from purple to maybe something more, with more contrast. Let's change the size from 3 rem to maybe about 7 rem. Make it a little bit bigger, maybe 8 rem. Okay, 8 rem. Good. So the next thing we want to do, we have just one heading. All right, so we want to duplicate this heading into like okay, give me a second. Okay, so we have our loop heading. Let's Control C, Control V. Let's copy and paste this our heading into like 4 places. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, but before that, let's give our loop heading a little bit of margin, say 1 rem. Okay, just to have this little spacing here so the text or the heading won't be together. All right, the next thing we want to do now, let's try to rename all of this so we would, when we are animating it, you won't be confused. Let's call this let's say Dave Mars. This second one, let's just say Webflow. Okay, so you can see as I'm scrolling horizontally, we have this overflow thingy going on, which is not good, which we're going to solve in a minute. But before that, let me just rename all of this. Let's call this learning. You can name it whatever you want to name it, and let's just leave this last one as heading, so we know that our content is starting from Dave Mars and it's ending at what? Heading. All right, so to solve this overflow issue, all you need to do is to come on here to the wrapper and you set the overflow, set it to heading. So right now when you try to scroll horizontally, you won't have that weird overflow. Okay, good. Now see what we have here: Dave Mars and Webflow and learning, and the last text here is what? Heading. So what we want to do is we have all of that inside of loop content. All right, so what we want to do is we want to duplicate this loop content into 2. So Control C and Control V, so we now have it into 2 here, right? Which means we would have a long block of text or heading. Now to be able to see that, just go back to your wrapper and let's click on this eyes and let's see what we have. Okay, look at what we have. Look at the long block of text that we have. All right, good. So which means the first loop content started from here and ended here. All right, the second one started from here, Dave Mars, and also ended here at heading. So bear that in mind. The first content is Dave Mars, the last content is heading, and it starts again like that. Okay, now let's take away the overflow heading. Good. Now we move on to the animation part. This is the tricky part, but it's not that hard. All right, so you click on interactions. That's the first thing you want to do, and you click on the plus icon here for trigger animation. Scroll into view. Mind you, you are animating the wrapper. All right, you should be very careful here. Know what to animate and know where to set your action or your trigger. We are going to animate the wrapper. Okay, and we're going to click on scroll into view. Click on scroll into view, and when scrolled into view, that is what you want to set an action on. You click on here and you click on start an animation. Okay, click on start an animation and you click on this plus icon here, and it's going to ask you to name your animation. You can just call it whatever. You can say text loop, just whatever name you want to use. All right, text loop. Now you want to add an action. Now you want to click on this plus action here and say plus icon here and say move. So you click on move. It's asking you to move what exactly? Move the wrapper? Nope. It's saying wrapper here, but obviously we don't want to move the wrapper. What we want to move is the loop container. That is the parent of the loop content. All right. So what we can do is right click and click on change target. All right. Then you now click on loop container. That means we've changed the target from wrapper to loop container. Now don't be confused. The animation is on the wrapper, but the action is to move loop container. All right, good. So that's the first step. The first step is to do that. Now you want to go to the move, the actual action here. This is the x-axis. All right, you want to set it here to like 0%. All right, that's like the initial state. You want to check box this set as initial state. So we've done that. What that means is at the initial it should be like this. Now you want to click on this end, all right, and say move again. Now we have the loop container. So what it's saying, the end, at the end we want to move the loop container to the left until we start seeing the second loop content here, which is this one. All right, in percentage it's going to be minus let's say minus 45 degrees. Okay, now look at what is happening. Let's just be practical. So this is the first as I'm scrolling, oops, sorry, minus 45%. We're having it in percentage. All right, we're working with percentage. Okay, so good. At 0%, this is the first loop content, all right, that has div mass. But as I'm scrolling to the negative side until we start seeing the second David. Good. So this is the second David, the second content. Now you have to be very, very calculative. What you want to try to achieve is you want to set it so that it will align exactly as it is, you know, the initial time. So what that means is you're going to try to set this second Dave Mars to fit exactly how it was from the beginning. So this is where you got to be calculative. So at that point is maybe at minus 50%. You see, this is the second loop content. It's just as if it's like the first loop content. All right. So the first one here at 0%, this is the first loop content. Now at minus 50%, this is the second loop content coming in play. Okay, and you want this second one to come in play in about maybe let's say 5 seconds. So you want to set the duration to what? To 5 seconds. Now you're going to add another trigger here. You're going to say move. After 5 seconds, after the second one has come in play, you want to take it back to 0 degrees. Sorry, 0%. 0%. Okay, so let's try to play this and see what's going to happen. So from the first one, the second one, you see, good. Let's just preview it and see on bigger screen. So this is the first one. Look at the second one here. Oh, okay, look at what happened. All right, so to correct that thing that happened now, this last trigger that you set to 0%, you want to say let it happen in 0 seconds. The duration should happen in 0 seconds. All right, that is what you want to do. Okay, so now let's go and preview. Let's increase this 5 seconds to like 10 seconds and see. Let's save it and let's go and preview. So this is the first one. So look at our second heading content. See, it's going to stop. Perfect, that's what we want. All right, so the last thing you want to do is you want to come click on this loop. Click on this loop. That means it's going to happen endlessly. You know, once it gets to this second one, it loops back to the start and it starts again continuously like that. So let's preview it again and see. This is the first one, this is the second one. So you see, the moment it gets here, it starts again from the scratch. So it's so fast, you won't even notice that there was, a change or a loop. Let's use that word, a loop. So that is how you achieve that. And if you did not get it the first time, you might want to watch it again and again and again. It's very easy, trust me. So that is it. Until we meet again, ciao. Bye for now.